Well, hello everyone and welcome back to Online Darts. In the aftermath of Q School, we have got the CDC honchos, we've got Peter and we've got Tony along with us. Gentlemen, you two must be over the moon right now.
No doubt about it. Yesterday was a very good day for North American darts. Actually, quite honestly, the last 10 days have been good days for North American darts. We planted a flag in the ground, but Danny's accomplishment yesterday cannot be understated, and it's really good for us, no doubt about it.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for being with you. Yeah, it's felt like a maturation process in the founding and the evolution of the championship dart circuit to, not only to have a handful of players go play well and then just, obviously cherry on the cake with Danny getting his tour card. Fantastic run, as Peter just said.
Yeah, we'll concentrate on Danny for a minute. We'll come on to the others in due course. But going into that final day when Danny had nothing on the board, did you think it was possible or was it just a dream?
I've seen him play enough to know that he has the capability to turn it on at any point in time and go through anybody in this world. And I really do mean that. That being said, I mean, certainly you've got to have doubts, right? The finishing was average going in. He needed to do something real special, but he did. He reached down inside, he reached down deep and showed us, exactly what you need if you're going to be a PDC Tour card holder.
Definitely. And for you, Tony, what was that last hour or so like as the games were ticking off, getting closer and closer? And that semi-final must have been nerve-biting.
It was completely nail-biting. As Peter said, we've seen the potential in Danny. We watched him really sort of come out in Las Vegas when he won the North American Championship. But yeah, you watch Dart Connect and you were hosting the sort of Dart Connect party on Online Darts and you just watch that little white box as the player gets to an out. And it was nail biting and you as every round progressed, you didn't want to get too excited. But the thought was there. This is finally the day. It's going to unfold, and it's going to be his day.
Yeah, I was watching it. Darts isn't my full-time gig. I wish it were, and at some point maybe it will be. But I was actually teaching a finance class. That's what I do for a living, and I had 40 people between the people in front of me and the people that I was teaching online virtually. I had 40 people in front of me, and I got the phone sitting here on the podium, and I'm trying to lecture and talk about these complex concepts, and I'm looking down like, come on, hit it, come on. And it was kind of funny. I pity my students, but it was only for an hour.
Well, I'll contribute to that. I'm on holiday, as you can see. I'm here in an undisclosed location in an underground bunker. But so I'm with family, extended family. So we were having breakfast and we had the tablet with Dart Connect. And, I have to explain to my father-in-law what a double out is and how many legs this is. And the whole family was engrossed in the Danny Baggas saga.
And I love the fact that going into the final, he was completely unaware he only needed one leg. And for you two watching it, how important was it for that he got it early? Because you didn't want to be going 4-0 down against Scott Mitchell thinking, oh no, he only needs one.
Well, we knew exactly what the task was at hand, and obviously Scott's a quality player. And so, we're in our little Facebook group chatting, so imagine teaching and watching Dart Connect and trying to chat. Everybody's like, he needs one leg. No, he needs two. No, he needs one. And it was, really a big sigh of relief. I'm sure Anthony could add some colors to what was going on in his mind.
Well, yes, of course, as Pete said, we've got a CDC working group that, so obviously everybody involved in the CDC is a Dart fan, a Dart geek. And, so we're throwing back the numbers. What does he need? Are you sure? Is it one leg? Is it not? And back and forth. And so, a lot of drama and nail biting in the group. So as it kicks off, we discussed that. Does he know? Does he not know? Now, I know Danny professes himself to be sort of not a person that gets stressed out too much. He wants to know what the fans are saying. You see him on social media a lot. But I suspected going in that it was a case of don't even discuss it with them. It's go in and win the match. Don't sit there and play the game of a leg here, a leg there, all of that. It's go in, win the match. When the dust settles, I have my card, so be it. And I suspect that that's the way it played out.
Yeah, and just obviously talking on Danny now, it's a huge commitment. He's obviously been away for a long, long time already. He has to stay in the UK because of the Super Series and the UK Open is now that is open to him. you guys know him better than anyone. How will he fare in all this? Because it's a long time away from his family and children.
Yeah.
I
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Anthony.
I think he's going to fare really well. I think it's a moment in time for him in his life that he's prepared himself. Right? He touched on that yesterday, I believe, that sacrifices will be made, but he wouldn't have got on the plane if he wasn't ready for those sacrifices. I will candidly say I don't know if he was ready for those sacrifices in years past, but I believe he is now. I believe it was part of the compromise of, if I'm going, we're going to be a professional dart player, and that entails, as you just said, all of a sudden now the next few weeks are wide open to him in the UK.
Yeah, I think it's, as I say, it's like a world championship, right? You get there and nothing prepares you for actually being up on the stage. I think it's the same thing here. Yeah, I'm ready for the commitment. Now I got my card, and now, oh my God, this is really a thing, right? But I know his family's really behind him, and he's a family guy, right? So, and that's I think part of the whole professional athlete, especially a concept like the darts, where you're traveling literally every week, that doesn't get enough play. Not having the support of your family, or having that kind of a worry about what's going on, can really affect your performance. You need to perform at your highest level. His family's behind him 1,000%, and I think that's going to be a big thing. I think he's ready.
And then obviously the other guys, we had Matt Campbell, Leonard Gates, and Gary Mawson all over. Didn't see the best of them. We saw glimpses of brilliance, but wasn't quite to be. But they'll gain so much from that experience over in Niedenhausen.
Yeah, no doubt. I chatted a little bit with Matt and Gary. Haven't had a chance to talk to Leonard yet, but Matt's disappointed in himself. But Matt's a guy who has the top level talent. And so, he's going to be disappointed in what he did there. He wanted so much more out of himself. But again, you hit on it, Phil. He's got the experience now. Not that, again, he's had a lot of experience on the PDC stage. I get it. But this is just another feather in the cap. And, another year on CDC Tour, I think he's going to be certainly in a much better position next year to get the card. And you didn't mention, and I'll let Anthony talk in a second. I don't want to monopolize, but you didn't mention Danny Lobby, and I know Danny didn't advance to the final round. The reason I bring Danny up is, it just shows what the draw means in an event like this, right? So Danny, in his losing averages in the matches he played, were higher than most winning averages in the rounds he lost. He was I think if memory serves, the 13th highest between both of the first rounds, 13th highest average. So, at some point, you look at the draw gods and you go, really? And, and that's not taken away. You got to win the match in front of you. I'm not saying you don't, but, he's another guy that we can't overlook.
No, definitely.
Yeah, I was impressed with the lot of them in that top to bottom, everybody performed well. And that's where I tie it into the progression of darts here in North America, in that they all seem to be ready for the moment. Like, as we touched on, Lauby played really well, just ran into really great performances by people. Gary Mawson, we know his experience and his resume really was on fire early on in the week. Leonard Gates played really solid. I think a lot of us are really expecting a lot from Leonard. We're just waiting for it to click. We've seen it click here. And Matt Campbell, Matt performed really well in the Worlds and the World Cup, and it seemed that there was a little bit too much of an assumption that he was going to come in and get a card. And I think he will someday. I think he certainly will. And we'll just look upon it as this was just his road. He just needed, you just need steps in maturation and the coming out process. And I we'll see Matt Campbell as a PDC tour card holder someday very, very soon.
Anthony and I talked about that exact thing yesterday. It's one thing coming in as an unknown. It's another thing coming in with the burden of being a favorite. I realize it's only a Q school, but let's face it, how many people had him in their locks to get a tour card? And that adds a pressure to a guy who, let's not forget, 3 years ago, Matt Campbell wasn't a name outside of his own town, really. And now here he is on the biggest stage in the world, the biggest stages in the world, as a favorite to win a tour card. So, that's another thing that you got to prepare yourself for going back.
Yeah, I compared Matt very much to Nico Kurtz, two men that have got big reputations and had bigger targets on their back in Q School than others that weren't going to go under the radar, other than Barney, which was the big draw. But those two certainly had targets on their back. An interesting one for you both now. The guys, obviously, that didn't make the tour, do you see them coming over to play Challenge Tour for the year, or do you think they'll benefit more staying and playing on the CDC Tour for a year?
I think they certainly will. I think that's a big benefit of playing Q School. You have to play Q School to get on the Challenge Tour. I would expect to see, I'd say almost each and every one of them to play Challenge Tour. I think in combination with playing full-time on the CDC circuit, that will be their plan moving forward.
Yeah, I concur. Certainly the virus is the story. It still is. We're a year into it. And, the international travel right now is not easy, nor is it any fun, right? So a guy like Matt Campbell, who works, I think Matt's going to need to continue to do what he's doing. Taking these 14-day quarantines every time you come back, that if that continues, that's going to put a damper on it. But hopefully we get to the summer, vaccines, needles are in arms, and things loosen up a little bit. And I absolutely do think that we will see them. We'll see them out.
Looking towards the CDC Tour for the year, what will this do for everyone else playing on it? Seeing those guys come across to England and Europe, plying their trade, doing well, will that inspire the next generation below these guys to come and play on the CDC Tour, do you feel?
Well, boy, I sure hope so. I mean, at this point, you can see it's right in front of you what the structure that we've built gets you to. So if you're not all in at this point, you're not a serious player, right? The other thing is, they say that scarcity drives participation. Well, at this point, you now have one spot in the U.S. World Cup team and one spot in the Canadian World Cup team spoken for. So there's really only one from each. So if you want to get out, you got to get out now. And I hope that really gets, especially the top end, going out and beating each other up and getting those averages up again, and being able to get a spot on those teams.
Yeah, Phil, you would think it has to. It has to inspire the ranks of the CDC, or else we're, quite frankly, wasting our time. Because if that's not going to be accomplished, then what are we here for? Because that's the point of setting up the circuit here, is to eventually have that system where players mature and grow, move on to the PDC, and those are the players that are, the role models, if you will. Obviously, John Part, Jeff Smith, now Danny Baggish, and they lead the way to make room for the next stars that the CDC can develop.
And the other thing I would say is, I hope not just the next generation of adult players here, but truly the next generation of dart players, our youth, when we get them back into a room, that they look at this, they're like, man, look, I've got all these opportunities in front of me. I can be up there. I can get a PDC Tour card. If Danny Baggish can do it, why not me? And with the partnership with, the JDC, I can get a taste of what it's like now. So, there's that element too. And I don't think that should go unsaid.
Might be a little bit down the road, but one day, would you like perhaps the winner of the CDC Tour to automatically get a tour card like the Challenge Tour does, like the Development Tour does? Is that the ultimate goal?
Your lips to God's ears, Phil.
Well, obviously, absolutely. All of those things are on the table and would be wish list items for us. It's a combination of building a tour here in North America to play, to promote, to get on TV, so on and so forth. And then, of course, as many opportunities as we can get our hands on for our players to move on and compete on the world stage. It just benefits everybody.
And I'll say this, from the partnership with the PDC perspective, we're only getting closer. Our organizations are moving. We're pulling the same end of the rope. So, I know that there's been, over time, people have said, well, the PDC really doesn't care about North America. I can say confidently that is, nothing could be further from the truth. They want this market. Our partnership has served to kind of bring the game forward. And so now at this point, it's incumbent upon us to bring those new opportunities that'll get us there, right? More prize funds, bigger opportunities for players that will then generate more full-time darts players, which will generate more full-time tour card holders, and really get to where you just outlined.
Yeah, but Barry wants darts in every continent in the world. So yeah, I completely agree. Whoever said that couldn't be further from the truth. Talking on your tour, obviously 2020, it was decimated by the virus. How are we looking for 2021 in terms of getting people back into venues, playing against each other face to face for you guys?
So I'll take this. I have given a couple of interviews, and in every one of them, I said that in 2020, we let the virus manage us. And I don't think that's a negative. I think everybody let the virus manage them. It was unprecedented. Nobody saw this coming. This year, we flat out refuse to let external factors drive the success of our company and our players. So we will have a tour. We've got it planned that we're going to launch in April. We'll know this week whether that's going to happen or whether we're going to push back a little bit. I don't see pushing back a little bit, if that does happen, as being any sort of failure. It's just a matter of, you know what, looking at vaccine rollouts, and I'm looking at the numbers daily, looking at vaccine rollouts, looking at projections. You know, I'm concerned candidly about the situation between the US and Canada. The border is still shut. And so our first event's in the US, and it'd be very difficult for Canadian players to get down, and maybe that's okay. The second event's in Canada, so vice versa, maybe that's okay as well. But if pushing back a couple months makes it look like we can actually get the cross-border travel we intend, then at that point, I think that might be the right decision. So you'll hear something about it, but either way, abundantly clear here, make no mistake, there will be a CDC tour. There will be a CDC tour in 2021 in person, so you can play each other and improve your game and get to the next level.
Amazing stuff to hear, because like you say, it was decimated by the virus, and it's good to hear that the guys across the pond, as we call it, are going to have the opportunity to get back to playing some kind of competitive darts. Now, I know we spoke about this on Message, Pete, but the World Series, is it more hope than expectation right now? Are we going to have to put it back another year, do you feel, because of the international travel?
Anthony lives in New York, so I'll let him have the say. But you know, based on the message I gave you, you know, I really do believe it's a pipe dream at this point. I hate to say it. I say we're probably about 20% that it's going to happen. And if it's not going to happen right, why should it happen at all? So I'll let Anthony talk about, because he lives there and what he sees.
Well, Peter, you know, Peter knows the nuts and bolts of the PDC and the CDC relationship. Myself being in New York, I don't see it happening. More from the PDC's perspective that an event that's an international event of staffing, fans from Europe, fans from the United States and Canada converging in New York in roughly, where are we, almost 4 months. I personally can't see that coming together. As disappointing as that is going to be, I think the PDC is going to do what they're doing now, stay firm in the UK to keep things going. I would, you know, educated guess would be that the next big push for them is to get the European tour established again, and then you branch out worldwide with the World Series. So I'd say, unfortunately, probably going to look at a 2022, you know, World Series again. So
again, logistics here. We obviously had Vegas meant to be moving to New York. In terms of darts in North America, is that a better thing, do we feel? Because obviously we've got the East Pac community and everything like that, and it seems to be bigger on that side.
Oh, it's a very loaded question. And well, what do we say, Pete?
I'll let you handle this one.
Oh, you're gonna get me in trouble. Are we gonna give Phil a real exclusive? I mean, we sort of. I'll give you a personal perspective and then a bigger perspective. I sort of joke that, you know, I'm New Yorker. I run darts in New York, so you would think that I would be the happiest person in the world that the PDC US Darts Masters is coming to New York City. Well, maybe not. I live there, and the once a year trip to Las Vegas was pretty nice. But joking aside, I think the market in New York is fantastic from a player perspective. I think the market from a fan perspective is wonderful as well. The East Coast of the United States draws well players and fans. We were blessed to do the 2019 CDC Continental Cup in New York, and it was the first ticketed event that the CDC had run, and it was successful. We had a room filled nearly to capacity, and we ran a full day's event that we streamed. So I do think New York will be a success from a fan and marketing standpoint.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. There's nothing wrong with Las Vegas, and I know that the staff, chat with the staff. Obviously, they like Las Vegas too. But there's a cachet to New York. There's a cachet about Madison Square Garden that there just isn't at the Tropicana and or the Mandalay Bay. Mandalay Bay is a nice venue, don't get me wrong, but it's not MSG. Now the question is it going to have legs and staying power? Vegas tends to get people every year. Will people that travel over every year for New York? And I think that remains to be seen. Obviously, there's a big difference in cost. New York's a much more expensive city than Las Vegas is. You can do Las Vegas on a budget. It's more difficult to do that in New York. But from what the PDC is looking for, a statement event in a statement city, there is no, and I say this as a Chicagoan who kind of gives New York side eye sometimes. There is no better place to make a statement in this country than to have one in New York.
I'll echo that really quickly. I do think it's a statement for the sport of darts. It's, Led Zeppelin, Frank Sinatra, Muhammad Ali, Madison Square Garden. So to put the sport that we love in that facility is a massive moment.
100%. I'm lucky enough to have been to America many times, and New York is still my favorite city. Sorry, Peter, but there's something magical about New York, and I think it's great for darts, and MSG, nothing better. Again, I'm going to talk about a bit of domestic darts for you as well. How close is darts to really breaking through in North America in terms of viewing figures on TV stations and everything like that? Because we've seen the streams going very well, but we're close to breakthroughs on networks.
So here's the way I'll respond to that. In the pandemic, we actually had an event that we had put on that we were ready to stage it was a round robin to a final knockout, and we had negotiated a contract with NBC Sports Network to put it out. I don't feel bad putting this out there at this point. It's somewhat public knowledge. COVID restrictions ended up allowing us mandating that we could not do the final. And I was really heartbroken by that. Now, there was a big investment in that. That wasn't like we had a big headline sponsor coming in and saying, we'll bankroll this. No, we were bankrolling it. But we were bankrolling it because it seemed like the right risk to take at the time. Sports were very much knocked on their behinds, as you know. And so we're like, hey, if this is an opportunity, we can get in front of people. And unfortunately, it didn't work. So that was a little bit heartbreaking. But the numbers online, we need that catalyst. We need that one little spark. Candidly, I hope it's Danny. It might be. If Danny goes out and wins a PDC, championship event, Pro Tour event, then I think that might be the catalyst. We're closer to having that catalyst now than we have been, forever since we've started this company. So at some point, I'm confident we're going to get somebody that somebody big to take a flyer on us, and we're going to jump, and we're never going to look back. And so, that's our future. That's our plan. And, we're in a good position to deliver it.
Just touching.
I think sorry, go ahead, Phil.
Go on, Anthony. You go.
I just think it's an interesting conundrum. It's a chicken and egg. Does TV exposure breed corporate sponsorship, or player success, or does player success breed corporate sponsorship? And it's which of those items are really going to be the one that goes through the roof and then explodes the other parts of it. We've grown in 5 years, and if we had a major corporate sponsor, and I mean outside of darts, we appreciate all of our dart sponsors, but it's we talk about Chevrolet and Coca-Cola and those major corporate sponsors that help you get in the door with a serious sporting network. And then now the up and coming players see the CDC Coca-Cola Classic on Fox Sports, and now they're practicing in their garage, and now the ball really gets to rolling. But it's what is that first pedal push that gets things moving?
And I'm going to bring up kind of the 800-pound gorilla in the room here with what's going on with betting and the potential restrictions in betting in the UK. We're going the opposite way. We're getting looser over here when it comes to sports betting. You guys are talking. Who knows what's going to happen? but there's at least conversation in the UK about restricting or tightening what's allowable over there. And so I think that that naturally opens the door for an industry that's very comfortable with the sport of darts, to capture some of that big corporate sponsorship. We're trying to have conversations, and we'll see where those conversations take us. But I think that certainly could be the catalyst for a jump to.
Talk about the Fallon effect, as I call it, as well, because she broke all kinds of global viewing numbers, newspaper sales, no more so than in the States, that she made absolute headline news, what she achieved 2 years ago. And I really feel for her that the pandemic has killed that momentum that she had. But being that she hasn't got a tour card, any thoughts on getting her across to do some promotional work within the CDC, maybe playing in a few events to help bolster that and get the profile up through her?
I think she'd be great to bring over as a headline for an exhibition. Certainly putting her on a North American tour, I don't think is in the cards, but certainly I think there's things we could do to have a name like that really promote, us, and people will recognize her. I'll let Anthony also chime in on his vision.
Well, I will admit my daughter now owns a Fallon Sherrick replica jersey and a nice scarf, so my daughter was one of many, many young ladies rooting her on in that World Championship. So it does have an effect. I'm certain, any big name exposure like that would help us to put her on an event, and get darts out to the masses, if you will, more than just the darting market.
Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure talking CDC darts, Danny Baggish, Q School, and everything like that with you. Thank you very much for your time as always, and I can't wait to actually see you guys in person. I know we had some stuff planned for last year for New York, not looking like it this year, but maybe 2022 we can get something sorted, guys. But thank you very much for your time as always.
No, thanks for having us, Phil. Truly appreciate what all you're doing for the game over there at Online Darts. I mean, what you've built is pretty impressive, and I'm glad that we're able to chat with you. I'm looking forward to being able to raise a glass with you again in the near future. So thanks for having us.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you for having us. And let's certainly thoughts for a great 2021 for everybody. That darts is back in session, and we can all meet in person again.
Definitely, guys. Thank you very much as always.